Good afternoon. This is Emmanuel Kemiji, Master Somm, and I'm here with Wilo Benet in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Wilo, good friend and an extraordinary chef. And Wilo, I want to start off by asking you what what influences or circumstances drove you to become a chef, such a tough profession?
In my case, it was more about the circumstances. I was actually a photography major, back then, almost 40 years now, 41 then actually, or it would have been 41. So, essentially I had passed my classes with great grades, and I had not been present to classes many times as it was required. So they wanted me to repeat the entire semester. So like, well, the heck with that. So then I just started looking for things. I applied for the Army. I'm colorblind, so they rejected me for computer technician. So next, then I did wash dishes, and then the manual elements of that very primal experience, were the ones that drove me to then just continue on. Then I apprenticed and I went to school and on and forth. But essentially, it was more of a circumstantial thing that presented it to me more than. The stories that you hear so many times, people that, well, they cook with their grandmother or their mother or this, or they were influenced by somebody else that cooked already. That was not my story.
And I know you went to the CIA, not the Central Intelligence Agency.
Yeah, right,
by the
exactly,
way.
exactly.
The Culinary Institute of
That's
America in Hyde Park.
In Hyde Park, well, back then it was so long ago that there was only the Hyde Park, right? Exactly. Not right now, where you have all the campuses, and like the one in California, based on it.
Yeah. Now, after that, I know you worked in New York at the Maurice and at the Bernardins,
Right.
the Water Club.
Right.
Who would you say was chef that either mentor or had the greatest influence on your style of cooking?
I'll tell you what, someone that had, I don't know in particular on my developed style, but someone who really influenced me, this Hindu chef, which was the Hilton chain when I was an apprentice at the Caribe Hilton, when Augusto was the chef of the Caribe Hilton, even prior to his having his own restaurant.
Right.
So Joseph Stevenson really dedicated a lot of time, as well as Augusto in those days. But they influenced me tremendously from the perspective of introducing me to flavors and things. I come from a small town in Puerto Rico, Rio Piedras. I mean, half the stuff they work with, it was foreign to me. So like Dijon mustard, like whatever. I had French's mustard, but I'd never had Dijon mustard, right? So on and forth, these guys were the ones who presented me with all kinds of things that really excited me. Excited me to such a point where, even though it was a for free apprenticeship in the tradition of true apprentices, I loved every minute of it because the exchange was for food. So let me tell you, I was very tremendously. I think that Georges Blanc, as I read books in my development, influenced me tremendously. Uh, Alain Sanderans from L'Orchestra de Lucas Carton was the consulting chef to the Maurice. So not that him and I hung out together or anything like that, but his influence on the menu certainly still has proposals in our current offer. But Christian Delouvrier, which was the guy that yelled at me, to no ends, So from the rigor and the discipline, that is required to put out, super high quality food. So those guys did. Gilbert Lacoste, when I went to Le Bernardin, and others. But probably those were the ones that greatly influenced me.
And now, after New York, you came back to Puerto Rico.
That's right.
And worked at Fortaleza, the governor's mansion.
The governor's mansion.
Who was the governor?
The governor then was Don Rafael Hernandez Colon, rest in peace. And I got to tell you, I was lucky there too, and I find myself lucky everywhere, But the of all the governors, and I have cooked for all of them, with the exception of the interim governor that we had. Wanda. I didn't cook for her, but everybody else in the modern era, I cooked for all of them at one point or another. What I'm trying to make is that I was lucky in the sense that Don Rafael was a true gourmet. this guy drank Latash, like all the good DRCs, and he was into pigeon, and he wanted foie gras, and he did all these things that none of the others wanted to have anything to do with it, at least not in their daily, rigor. I'm not saying they would not be into it if they went to like a nice fancy dinner or what have you. But truthfully, I was lucky there too. So there were lots of state events, lots of opportunities to do, and like just really propose my whole thing without having a PR person. Then I am, by a long stretch, the person that got the most coverage ever in that position, and it's like I said, it was just coincidental. So a person came to cover, or they were covering politics, and they started doing something like, oh my God, what is this? So it was just very different in contrast to what was being done there before. So so that's what that was.
So if I'm the governor, I could get whatever I want, whenever I want.
You can get whenever you want to, whatever you want to. And that's essentially how it is. The word no does not exist in those chambers. It's you better have a yes. You better have a yes, because if you have a no, it'll come to you. And it does not matter if it's in Puerto Rico. I'm sure the White House is to another level and to another degree. So it is like that.
Now, I remember that you went on to establish Picayo in 1990.
Right.
What would you characterize? I know this is a tough question. Your style, your food at Picayo.
Actually, I do have a definition for that, and this is something that has taken me years. Okay, but in essence, this is what I pursue. I pursue intensity of flavor, and I pursue 5 elements or less. So some dishes will have more than 5. When I say elements, it's like a little root vegetable puree, piece of fish, a sauce, and a garnish. So you have 4.
Right.
Okay. So I pursue, and the reason why, it keeps it clean in the palate, and there's a clarity of flavors. Plus, when you look at it, it is a rememberable, sight. Rather, when you do things that are, and this is where photography came, really well when I'm doing compositions and things, and how to use the visual element for contributing. So the less you have, I think, the more you tend to remember that exactly as it was presented. While the artist, and this is kind of like a joking thing I say from time to time, where, if you have, like Picasso's first paintings were more complex than the ones in the very end, where he went to like a hardware store and got some like wall paint and dipped it in there and went like that. Okay, that's the $40 million piece, But it took all these others to come to that point. So 4 or 5 elements or less, and intensity of flavor is probably, parting from the fact of great ingredients and sourcing correctly, and and the innovation and the fusion and all those other elements. But as the core, the 4 or 5 elements.
And I remember when I first came to Puerto Rico, which was in 1998, to open the Ritz-Carlton. And you were always the reference, as Picayo was the restaurant at the time, and what we measured the success of at that vintage room. But now you've evolved to pa llevar, which is a slang to take out,
Right.
and Wilo Eatery. So
Right.
how did you get from very high-end, top-notch dining into this style, more casual?
Well, I think it was all along, I'd like to say it was my read of the market and what specifically was going on here as people were moving forward. So it's going to be fine dining forever. There will be like super fancy places forever, no matter what. However, I saw greater opportunities, in opening up my client base, because, in Puerto Rico's scenario specifically, with the exodus of people by way of the hurricane or the this or the that, so, our top base was kind of like continued shrinking, So how to open up that a little bit more, because not so much because opening up, the market to other levels of income, which in part happens organically, but because this is how I feel. despite of what your level of purchasing is, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you want to wear flip flops and shorts, but maybe you feel like lobster today, whatever, or you feel like foie gras. So it doesn't have to be where you need to like suit up and do the whole 9 yards in order to enjoy that experience. And it seems that I struck a chord with people for the most part. It's taken a while. They still remember me more for that other era because it was a far longer era. But that was 28 years in altogether, Picayo. But I got to tell you that, the more we get into it, the more people accept the way this thing is. And, today you need to just grab and go. Then tomorrow you need to just like stand up and drink a coffee. And then other days it's other things.
But I got to say, yes, there's grab and go, which is casual. And then there's the eatery. That's, I don't want to use the word casual. It's a casual atmosphere, fun. But the quality and the technique is not casual. So,
and the quality will be the driver forever. That is going to be the one driver among all these other descriptions that I do about the style and everything else. Yeah, everything comes secondary to quality.
And now I know you've competed in chef shows and you've judged in chef shows. The difference. Tell me, how does one, you're competing against some top guys, and then you're seeing some guys sweat it out in front of you. So tell me, emotions.
So when you see the guys sweating it out, I guess it's more of a, oh my God, I remember, or it just made me reminiscence, when I was there, in other competitions and things, so you feel for, or you try to look for, who's bluffing, who's actually struggling, who's actually doing something. So there's a bunch of emotions going there. When it comes to competing, it's a tightrope, like you better not fall, like whatever. Because the fall is long. So, another kind of adrenaline, and actually those shows, I got to tell you that my experience is not necessarily like anything else in life, and it's not to discredit those who have won, because every one of those people who competed there was worthy of winning the competition, right? But in the end, like for instance, I remember, and this is what I mean to say, one of the judges was from England, and when I did Top Chef Masters, and we were at Universal Studios in California, and it was about street food, right? So I got cat's heart, so I sliced it super thin, and I made a tripleta, which is the common sandwich here in Puerto Rico, right? So like a street food sandwich. So his comment was, and this is where it becomes biased, well, this was much too large for street foods. Well, street foods are large, at least in Puerto Rico they are. You never get like a small sandwich or a small anything. Exactly. There's no finesse in the truck. So it just goes to tell you, it depends on a bunch of things that, on the same token, that same person said, this is the tenderest heart I have ever had. Well, why don't you judge me on tenderness and not on size, like whatever. But so it is. It's
Everybody has a
agendas.
perspective. Yeah, exactly. As a somm, we know that because everybody tastes and has a different feel for what they like, and you have to respect everybody's feel. That's what makes the world go round, I always say.
Absolutely so.
And hobbies. Now I know that you're a golfer. Now how good? What's your handicap?
Well, handicap is like about 14 when I was playing. So
I'll tell you, when somebody asks me what's my handicap, I say I'm very handicapped. 14 is damn good.
I'll tell you on golf, I've been playing for 25 years. Lately, in the last couple of years, I've only played twice because I've just been dedicated to this, and I'm doing other things that don't require as much time. But I could break 90, not all the time, but I could break 90, which makes it fun. You play a 90 or 90 something.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Favorite course in Puerto Rico?
Favorite course in Puerto Rico, Bahia Beach. It's by a long stretch, best kept course and just phenomenal. I mean, I have others. Yeah, Dorado, which is where I played probably the most amount of times, or Rio Mar as well. But Bahia, it's.
Have you played Royal Isabela?
I have not. I've been, but I have not played. But let me tell you, probably the only course in all of Puerto Rico I have not, because I've played in in some that are not even well known, you know. But
Well, I'll take you to
I'd love to.
because it's an amazing course.
I've been and seen it. It's
You're
beautiful.
going to lose a lot of balls.
Oh yeah, I can tell. I can tell.
And now, you're also a drummer.
I'm a drummer.
What kind of music?
Actually, rock and roll. You know, just keeping the beat there. A little jazz too. You
So
know,
not,
that's also
not Latin.
No, not too much on the Latin end of things. You know, more those two genres. You know.
And I know, obviously, photography, you studied it at
Yeah.
one point. What is your favorite subject?
Well, the favorite subject at this point, although I enjoyed many, but the one that I really enjoy the most would be nature photography. Just hauling out there, waiting, and it's kind of like hunting, you know, but without actually shooting the bird. Something that I do lately too. So you know, we do some of that target practicing. You know, some on birds, some on other things. You know, but so there's that. I love woodworking. You know, so everything that has to do with my hands. I love photography, like you said. I love motorcycle riding. I ride almost every Sunday. Long hauls in Puerto Rico. You get to see some really incredible sights. It's a little off-roady. You know, and off the beaten path roads, if you will.
Okay.
So we do some of that, and you know, among other, I paint. You know, I do a bunch of things. Some I do like, you know, sometimes I paint one paint every 3 years. You know, so I do a paint
I gotta
that I
see
dedicate
this.
myself.
I gotta see this. I didn't know.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So you know, like I said, more for my amusement than I'll be able to impress you with anything. You know, but it's just an enjoyment of the time. You know, whenever that news you know comes about, so it's time to go put it in something, put it on something.
Well, I gotta tell you, a few weeks ago, I came in because, you know, my wife Alexandra and my daughter Isabella love coming here. And I was pleasantly surprised to see my El Plus wine in a can. And I hadn't even presented it to you. I was thinking, I gotta go see Wilo, but is he gonna like it? What's he gonna think? You know, really high-end guy. What's your take? I mean, you've had this now at the restaurant.
And I'll start by saying this, and I'm sorry I briefly interrupted there,
No,
but
no.
I'll say this. Long as you're here, this really is a phenomenal product, okay? And I got to tell you that this one, this is the Chardonnay, or this is the Pinot Grigio. I'll take the Chardonnay. I can tell you, the Chard, because you see, the thing with this is all about, like, well, you know, wine in a can. People are going, yeah, wine in a can. Well, let me tell you, there's nothing really negative about this. You know, there's a lot of technology in the super simple can. And some of the things that really could be the downfalls, like the metallic flavors and influence on the wine itself, are not here at all. And, you know, think about this. You're traveling somewhere, and then it's just as easy as opening and doing it. You know, you can pour it in a glass if you want to, but that beats the whole purpose. Salud. No. Yeah. You try it, and you know, and you'll find out that I'm telling you this in total honesty, because truthfully, it's a phenomenal product. It's a phenomenal wine, honest to God. And you see so much we dedicate ourselves to facilitating now, like the store and the to-go. The primal word we use for developing that entire concept and everything that we're continuing developing is, how can I facilitate? So this facilitates wine. Not all the time, you know, there are times when you want your glass and everything, but there are other times that, like going to the beach, okay, so I don't have to bring cups or nothing. Just open up and drink, and like then we're moving. So let me tell you, phenomenal, really, really delicious. I've had this one, I've had the red one, and I haven't had the Pinot Grigio, so that'd be my next. But the Chardonnay, I absolutely love. You know,
well, I want to thank you so much, Wilo.
My pleasure.
Proud to have this here.
Proud to be here.
Yeah.
And lots of success with this and everything else. Huh?
Salud.
Salud.